Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another video. Yesterday marked the first official game of this 2023-2024 NFL season, and I'm sure all the fans are excited to see their favorite teams compete for playoff spots, for even Super Bowl, and I am not one of those fans, as I have to watch the Arizona Cardinals compete for the bottom of the division this year, and in fact, they're going to be competing for the bottom of the league. It's not looking bright this season for the Arizona Cardinals. And there's no doubt that we have set ourselves up in a rebuild. And, I don't care how bad we are, I'll stick with them. But it's going to be rough. I mean, our roster is thin. We have so many holes that we need to fill. And, this offseason was a bit brutal in regards to those we let go and those who we didn't sign at all. The one bright spot, I would say, was our draft class, and that was a very strong one, and I think that's all largely credited to our new GM, Monty Ossenfort. Monty Ossenfort was a key piece as a head scout for the New England Patriots, and as we know, for the longest time, the New England Patriots dominated the draft. They had so many steals, and that's how they dominated the league for so many years. And Monty Ossenfort came here, and we kind of see the things he did in New England translate over to Arizona. And, Paris Johnson was our pick, and we didn't just draft him with our standing pick. We traded down, acquired a plethora of picks for this year and next year. We traded back up with the Detroit Lions to 6 to snag our future franchise tackle in Paris Johnson, and that we didn't really give up much. We gave up our pick, which was 12, and a high second rounder, but we had acquired that from Houston, so we had 2 second rounders, and we could have afforded to spare one. And that right there, that first round, I was immediately sold on how Ossenfort can operate up in the front office. And, we really don't have much to look forward to other than to see these good rookies. I mean, we've got B.J. Ojulari. He has the potential to be one of the biggest steals in the draft. And we all know edge rusher is extremely weak in regards to positional needs. And so he'll have a chance to stand out. Some of these other guys, Garrett Williams, Keitrell Clark, Clayton Tune even though he will not get the starting job, as we acquired Josh Dobbs over this bye week of the preseason. And, he's going to get the starting nod, and he's an experienced quarterback, which I like. Is a little bit more comfortable having an experienced veteran in there, and especially one that is familiar with Drew Petzing's offense. And that's a relief. I mean, we're not expecting huge things from him, but obviously we cut Colt McCoy, who has been our backup for the past, I don't think it's been 3 years. It might have been 2 or 3. But McCoy, I like Colt McCoy. His longevity is the only problem. He's a walking concussion. He could not stay healthy, and he could not last more than 4 games. And, he was the weak link at that quarterback spot. But, yeah, Dobbs is, he's going to be at the helm. And, again, there is no real expectations for this team other than bottom of the cellar. And that has led a lot of people to believe that we are tanking for the most electrifying prospect we've seen since, I won't even say Trevor Lawrence. I mean, we haven't seen a guy like this since Andrew Luck. He is the Bo Callahan of this NFL draft class. And that's why people are saying that, with Kyler Murray being gone for I don't know how many games, there's some reports that saying he could be back earlier than you think, and then some saying he's going to be back as expected, which would be mid-season, and some saying he won't even play at all this season. And that's, a lot of conflicting reports. I don't know what to believe. But I do know it seems to me that Murray's time in Arizona he's on his way out. And I don't say that like I don't think he's a great quarterback. I mean, I've spent the last 5 years watching Kyler Murray and him being my favorite player in all of football. I mean, I've watched every single game of his since his rookie game against Detroit. And, there's nothing wrong with his talent. I mean, he had the potential to be a top 5 quarterback in the league. But because of this situation that we're in, we don't, it's just conflicted. There's a crossroad and, there's a crash at the intersection of wants and needs. Kyler Murray is a franchise guy. He's been signed to a huge extension, and he's not pushing 30. He's not old, but he's at that point of his career where he should be reaching his peak, and now this injury has really set him back, and he's dealt with injuries for the past 2 years now. And Kyler Murray at this point of his career cannot afford to wait and stay for a rebuild. When you rebuild, you have to do you have to wipe the slate clean. Everything gone. And you don't do that, but keep your franchise quarterback. I'm sure there's many of teams that are interested in a Kyler Murray and who would fit his scenario a lot better. I mean, we just saw during the offseason that Atlanta already reached out to Arizona, but I don't think it would be the right time to trade him just yet. And, who's to say we'll even end up with the first overall pick? And one thing I will say is, let's say we don't. If we draft a quarterback, his name will be Caleb Williams. It will not be Drake May. It will not be any other quarterback that we think is or other people think are good in that class. And let me tell you why. Kyler Murray is not a Josh Rosen. He is not some bust. We have seen that Kyler Murray can be a top 10 QB, even a top 5. He almost had an MVP season until he got hurt. We are not going to substitute that for a guy who's could be solid in the NFL. I'm not saying anything about Drake May, but he's still a risk. And you can say, well, Caleb Williams is a risk. Well, Caleb Williams, you're drafting Caleb Williams for what you think Caleb Williams will be. This guy's getting comparisons to Patrick Mahomes. Drake May is not getting comparisons to Patrick Mahomes. The only reason that we would dump a guy like Kyler Murray, a franchise guy, on a huge extension, would be for a guy who you think could be the next Patrick Mahomes. Nobody thinks that Drake May could be the next big thing. That's why I'm saying the only reason we would draft a quarterback is for Caleb Williams. And, this could all be all this talk and chatter about tanking and trading Kyler Murray could all be for nothing, because he already said that if the situation is not what he pleases, that he'll just stick in college. And, it really says something about the Arizona Cardinals and, frankly, how bad our organization is. We have dealt with a lot of controversy with Steve Keim and Michael Bidwell, who I think is a very good owner. Steve Keim, I thought, was a very good GM. I looked up to Steve Keim for many of years. I know he had a lot of off-the-field issues, but, this whole situation we're in cannot be 100% be put on him. It's not his fault. And we've really tried to stray away from all this controversy and just really build a new Arizona Cardinals. I mean, because, it sucks to say, because 15 years of watching this team, I kind of grew up with the good Arizona Cardinals, the Larry Fitzgerald and Carson Palmer days where we were always in the playoffs and we even made it to the conference championship one year. And that, ever since we started going down, and now this whole, it just hasn't been a good past 5 years. It hasn't. And like I said, we've made a new Arizona Cardinals, and we have become the Cleveland Browns of the NFL. It sucks. It sucks that we have to deal with that kind of controversy and reputation. But, bringing in a guy like Jonathan Gannon and Monty Ossenfort is a new step to this regime that we bring to Arizona. Now, I don't know about Jonathan Gannon. I hear he brought a disciplined kind of football, maybe like a Dan Campbell. I don't know. I haven't really seen much of Jonathan Gannon outside of the preseason games, which, you cannot judge or base an opinion off of that. But Gannon, it seems like to me, this is just my prediction, and I don't know if I've said this before, but he could be the scapegoat. Just like Steve Wilkes was the scapegoat. You bring in a defensive-minded guy with a quarterback such as Kyler Murray. Those two are not compatible. And we see what happens when a quarterback and the head coach are not on the same page. And I feel as if whatever happens this season, we may dump Gannon and bring in a guy who we feel is compatible with potentially Caleb Williams. But I could be just completely wrong about something like that. And I don't know, but it just seems like to me that Gannon is not the most compatible guy with a Caleb Williams or Kyler Murray. But, I'm not there. I don't really know much about Gannon or just that whole situation in general. I'm not there to see, and I'm not there to make a sound judgment on it. But this at the end of the day, this is all just talk and predictions. There's no reason, even though our expectations are not high for this season, there's no reason why we shouldn't enjoy some of these things that we can cling on to for this bumpy road. And we've like I said earlier, Paris Johnson, some of these good rookies, Michael Wilson, who he seems like he's got a lot of talent and he could be a steal of the draft. So I don't know. We'll see on Sunday. We'll see for the next 17 weeks. But thank you and have a good rest of your day.